with them. Jack grinned. They match my eyes when I'm nauseous from my own cooking. And me? Chrissy asked, her eyes wide. Would you want to live with anyone else? Chrissy, Jack said, patting her hand. If I lived with anyone else, I'd actually have to understand what was going on. With you, life is a constant surprise. It's much more entertaining. As they sat in the dim light of the living room, the beaded curtain swaying slightly in the evening breeze, they felt a profound sense of belonging. They were three very different people, living a very strange lie in a very complicated world. But as the fog outside finally began to lift, revealing the bright stars over the Pacific, they knew that as long as they had each other, the rest of the world could stay out in the mist. Chapter 13, The Phantom Flusher. The tranquility of apartment 201 was shattered the following Tuesday by what Jack dubbed the Great Plumbing Rebellion. It started innocently enough a slow drain in the bathroom sink, but quickly escalated into a full-blown crisis involving the entire building's water system. Jack, the toilet is singing, Chrissy shouted from the bathroom. Singing? What's it singing? Chrissy, bridge over troubled water, Jack joked from the kitchen, where he was trying to salvage a batch of hollandaise. No, it's a high-pitched whistling. It sounds like a tea kettle with an attitude. Jack walked into the bathroom to find Chrissy staring at the porcelain bowl as if it were a sentient being. The toilet was indeed whistling, a shrill, piercing sound that vibrated through the floorboards. It's the pressure, Jack sighed, reaching for the handle. Stanley must have been adjusting things again. He gave the handle a firm flush, expecting the sound to stop. Instead, a series of violent thumps echoed through the walls, followed by a sound like a small explosion from the apartment below. What was that? Jana asked, rushing in. I think I just launched a torpedo into the Ropers' bathroom, Jack said, his eyes wide. A few seconds later, the inevitable pounding began. Stanley Roper didn't even wait for them to open the door. He used his master key and burst in, soaking wet from the waist up. Tripper, you've done it now. You've flooded the engine room. Mr. Roper, what happened? Jana asked, trying to hide her amusement at Stanley's dripping appearance. The pressure. I was working on the main valve, and someone I won't say who, but he's standing right in front of me decided it was the perfect time for a power flush. I got a face full of Santa Monica's finest. I was trying to stop the whistling, Jack argued. The whistling was the warning. Stanley yelled, shaking his plunger at them. It's like a submarine. Tripper, when it whistles, you dive. You don't flush. We'll pay for the dry cleaning, Mr. Roper, Jana said quickly, steering him toward the door. "Dry cleaning? I need a life raft," Stanley grumbled, though he allowed himself to be let out. "And tell the blonde one to stop singing in the shower. The vibrations are loosening the tiles." As the door clicked shut, the three roommates looked at each other and burst into uncontrollable laughter. "A submarine?" Jack gasped, leaning against the wall. "He thinks he's Captain Nemo." "Well," Shauna said, wiping a tear from her eye, "at least we know the toilet works, even if it is a weapon of mass destruction." Chapter 14, The Gentleman Caller. The middle of the week brought a new complication. A man named Richard. He was a high school acquaintance of Jeanette's who had recently moved to the area and, much to Jeanette's dismay, had decided that they were destined to be together. "He's coming over tonight," Shauna announced, looking at her reflection in the hallway mirror with a look of pure dread. "He's persistent, he's boring, and he thinks flair is a brand of pen." "Do you want us to disappear?" Chrissy asked helpfully. "We could go to the movies. I heard there's a new one about a shark that eats people's vacations." "No," Shauna said firmly. "I need you here. In fact, I need you to be as roommate-y as possible. Jack, I need you to be, well, you." "A culinary god," Jack suggested. "A distraction," Shauna corrected. "If he thinks we're a quiet, domestic household, he'll never leave. We need to show him the chaos." When Richard arrived, he was exactly as Shauna had described. Beige suit, beige personality, and a smile that seemed to have been programmed by a computer. He sat on the wicker chair as if he were afraid it might bite him. "So, Shauna," Richard said, ignoring Jack and Chrissy, "I thought we could go for a quiet dinner at that new steakhouse. Very respectable, very quiet." "Actually, Richard," Shauna said, gesturing to Jack, who was currently wearing a snorkel and mask while trying to clean the fish tank, "we usually eat together. It's part of our communal living agreement." Richard looked at Jack, then at Chrissy, who was sitting on the floor trying to teach the secret puppy, who was still visiting, how to play the harmonica. "Communal." Richard repeated the word as if it were a foreign language. "And who is the man in the flippers?" "That's Jack," Shauna said brightly. "He's our chef. He's very sensitive to the water quality. He says he can only cook if the fish are happy." Jack popped his head out from behind the tank, the snorkel dripping onto his chest. "The neon tetras are feeling blue today. Johnny, we might have to order pizza." Richard blinked, his beige composure beginning to crack. "I see. And the dog. Isn't there a rule about pets?" "Oh, she's not a pet," Chrissy said, looking up with a wide-eyed smile. She's a spirit